All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your collage review video. So if you missed class or you didn't quite keep up with us in class, this is the video you need to watch. So you are starting with a blank sheet of paper. Now I'm doing this in Sharpie so you can see it, but you can just do it in pencil. There are 3 things that are part of today's activity. There is a value scale. And it doesn't matter if this is perfect or not. I'm just going to glue right over it. There is a sphere. And ooh, that's a little wonky. And there is a cylinder. Now the sphere and cylinder, what I'm drawing right now, the worksheet is available on today's slideshow. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide this into the value scales, just like the video is. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. No, one more. I didn't do enough. You need to divide yours into at least 5 values, including the cast shadow. And you're going to do your cylinder in the same way. So I'm going to do this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and cast shadow is 6. Same deal here. It's going to be 1 because our light source is coming from up here. So that means the top is light. And then we've got 2, 3, because a cylinder shades differently, 4, and I'm just going to make that 5. Those should be a little bit more even, but I messed them up and it's okay. And then 6 is here. So now you're going to take your construction paper. Now for the first one, I recommend you pile up all your sheets and cut them once. Because what we're going to cut is a bunch of these. Now, you do not need to use, I am going to use all 8 of the colors that I have that are not white or black. Don't use white, but you can use black. I'm choosing not to use black so that mine is pure colors. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking, so that I don't have to actually cut too big of a square, I am just cutting it off as a square. Off the corner. Makes my life easier. Makes your life easier. Now, what you're going to do with the colors that you've got is you're going to figure out, where is my light? Where is my medium? Where is my dark? Now, I will say with the set of colors that I have, these 2 are the lightest, yellow and pink. So those 2 have got to be the lightest end, and these 2 have got to be the darker end. These other 4 can go kind of anywhere that I want in the middle. So I'm going to set them up and decide how I like them. I need at least 6 in order. So I've got 8, but I only need 6. And if this is one place where if you decide that you don't like the way your order goes after you do your sphere, you can always change it for your cylinder. But this is your test run before you do your portrait. So I like that. I like blue next to purple. I like green. Let's put... No, I don't like red there. I don't like orange there. Let's do it that way. I like color wheels. Mine is kind of like a color wheel, because these 3 are kind of in order, and, well, maybe not. Yeah, I kind of like... I didn't like the orange. I don't like the orange. Let's go with red. I'm going to go with red. Still playing. All right, so do that. Then you get out your handy dandy glue. I'm going to toss my orange piece because I don't need it. And then these are the 6 color, I got 7. So I don't quite need all these, but I'm going to put them all in here anyways because I already figured them out. Whoop, that one used a little too much glue. You want to glue right around the edge. Not a lot of glue, But you want enough glue that it holds down. You want to overlap them a little bit. Get into the habit of overlapping your pieces just a little bit. But you want enough glue to hold down those edges. All right. And then I'm going to glue down. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label these. I am going to label them 1 through 6. So I might actually leave out my brown, even though I glued it down. But I can always use my brown on my cylinder if I don't like the way this looks. So I gave myself an option. Glue these down. Right on top of my drawing. See, I told you it didn't matter what I drew because you wouldn't see it when I'm done anyways. So there we go. There, I've got my 7. So the one thing I am going to do, I'm going to do this in pencil, is I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm gluing that down. So, next step is to go down and draw these 2 figures. So I already drew mine, so I've got that kind of step already done. And what I'm going to do is flip this over. Now I know my glue is still wet. If you want to pause here and come back to it when your glue is dry, you can, but I'm just going to keep going. So I'm going to flip this paper over, and because I drew it in Sharpie, I can kind of see in the back where I drew. And I'm going to make carbon paper. This step is important. I am scribbling really hard and making it really dark. What carbon paper is, and I'm only scribbling where the lines are. What carbon paper is a layer of carbon, because the lead in your pencil is actually graphite. It's a layer of carbon that will, when the pressure from your drawing will shove it, or will take it off of this paper and transfer it onto your other paper. So you're going to eventually do this for the cylinder too. I'm just going to do it for the sphere and then I move on. Okay, so then I need to start with my darkest. So I'm going to start with my purple. So I'm going to go find my purple sheet of paper. Oop, I already cut that purple to death. I'm going to find my purple sheet of paper. I'm going to stick my purple sheet of paper underneath. I'm kind of going to hold it up so I can see where that purple paper is going. And I'm going to trace. I'm going to trace by following this line here, pressing really hard. And for this particular one, I'm going to overlap just a little bit. Remember I said get into the habit of overlapping. So for this cast shadow, I'm going to overlap just a little bit and add that little bit. Now I pressed really hard while I was doing that, and it's kind of hard to see on my dark, but you can kind of see how that pencil shines. I am going to do the same thing, and I'm going to time lapse for a second here. I'm going to show you how to do all this, but I'm going to do it in time lapse. And I'm going to cut the next one. Actually, I'm going to do the next one first. 5. 5 is blue. So I'm going to take my blue. It's okay if your paper's got things on it. Just make sure it's big enough for the piece that you need, and mine is. Now, the way we are doing this is the biggest shapes need to be whole shapes. So I am tracing this entire circle. This is especially important when we get over to the cylinder or we get to your faces. So I'm going to press, and now you can see that even better, that it traced over. So now I'm going to stop, I'm going to time lapse and go into tracing the rest of my colors. To trace my cylinder. This one's a little trickier, so I'm going to go over it with you before I do it. Or as I'm doing it, I'm not going to go into time lapse for this one. What I want you to do, once again, start by tracing this whole shape. And then make sure you give yourself that little bit of overlap. Then I go to my blue. This one is the tricky one. We are tracing the whole shape. Not just like this one had that circle, that dark circle underneath everything else. You want your dark space to go underneath all of those lighter shapes so that you don't get little white spaces between your other shapes. So I'm tracing that whole outline. Now for the green one, make sure it's lined up. The green one, I am going, once again, starting at this edge over here, going all the way to where that 4 space is. Same with that red. I'm going to start over here, go all the way across to where that red space is. And then the yellow one is the itty bitty teeny tiny little line. That's the only one that actually looks like that little line that it is. Then, last but not least, and this one I've already seen people mess up, so you gotta be careful. This one, the top is the sphere. There we go. So now I am going to go into time lapse and cut. So now I'm going to go back to gluing, and I'm once again going to do what I did before. I am going to start, the first thing I am going to glue, there's my glue, is going to be my cast shadow. So I've got my cast shadow, I'm lining it up a little bit above the bottom, and I didn't do a very good job of cutting that, but that's okay for today. Then I'm going to make sure that that is there. I'm just setting it there right now. I'm not gluing it down yet because I want to make sure I put my green on. So actually I think I'm going to do mine straight onto the board this time. So this time I'm going to do it straight onto the board. So I'm going to glue my blue down. Press it down, make sure it lines up with the bottom. I don't worry so much about the top. Now, the green is going to line up, you're going to have to be careful, and line it up right with that outside edge. You do not want to be able to see any of the blue on the outside of it. So line it up with the bottom nice and neatly, line it up with that outside edge nice and neatly. Then I go to do my red. Same deal, glue right along the outside edge very lightly. Once again, line it up with bottom and with edge, so I don't see any green. Then the same thing. Yeah, yellow. Line it up with the bottom and outside edge. Then, last but not least, is the topper. Topper overlaps everything else and covers up the top edge. So you're worried about covering these and covering that top edge. And now, your collage practice is done. Take a photograph of it, put it in your Google sketchbook, and submit it to Canvas.